Attack on Titan is officially back. Well, for one more chapter at least. As we all know, AOT wrapped up last November with an incredible series finale, but Hajime Isayama has just released volume 35 alongside the new Attack on Titan art book. With Eren's story concluded, the new chapter titled Bad Boy will take us back to the underground, focusing on Levi's past and expanding on what we learned in Season 3 and in the No Regrets OVA. If you aren't familiar, the underground is a subterranean city ridden with poverty that lies beneath Walsina. It's a ruthless world where not even the sun can reach, and it is here where humanity's strongest soldier was born and raised. After Levi's mother passes away, he is taken in by his serial killer uncle, Kenny the Ripper, who teaches Levi how to fight, ultimately preparing him for the harsh realities of their world. Also, just before we proceed with the rest of the video, I just wanted to put a disclaimer that there will be spoilers. Currently, the new volume is only available in Japan at the moment, so I'll be providing a link to a fan translation in the description below. You can give it a read and come back and enjoy the rest of the breakdown. Alright, now back to the video. The chapter starts off with Levi recalling a memory. A memory where he was enjoying a cup of tea with his mother, before it quickly cuts to Levi getting the beat out of him. Happy memories in the underground are scarce, and he doesn't want to lose the only happy memory he has of his mom. Trying to protect that memory, Levi is caught stealing from a group of bandits who conned his mother, taking a valuable possession of hers. Right off the bat, we're reminded of how ruthless the underground really is. The bandits show Levi no mercy and beat him to a pulp while conjuring a plan to kidnap Levi and sell him off. As the bandits continue to beat on Levi, he suddenly snaps. This is when Levi awakens to his Ackerman blood, something that was touched upon in Season 3 when Mikasa's awakening was being explained. Although in Levi's case, we never knew what circumstance he found himself in. Well, until today at least.
Tell me this. Have you ever suddenly felt a power awaken inside you?
I have.
This has happened for Kenny Ackerman as well. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he felt an absurd amount of strength surging through him. And in that moment, he knew just what he needed to do. And it's happened to me too.
Mikasa awakened when her home was attacked. The bandits killed her mom and dad and conspired to kidnap her before Eren came to her rescue. Levi described the awakening as knowing exactly what needed to be done, developing fighting instincts and perfect self-control of one's body far above the average human. This is actually because the Ackermans can access the power of the Titans without transforming, as they're able to connect to every single Ackerman before them through the paths and gain their battle experience. In this new chapter, Levi similarly awakens and, recalling his own words, felt the power surge inside of him and just knew what to do in that moment. He rips the face off his attacker and easily disposes of the other bandits, sending them flying off the side of a cliff. As Levi's disposing of the bodies, the last bandit, who I'm going to assume is the leader of their little gang, hands over Olympia's possessions and sparks a pretty interesting dialogue. He asks, "You're Kenny's illegitimate son, right?" and then backs off when Levi questions what he just said, which is a rather strange thing to say considering Levi is supposed to be Kenny's nephew and not his son. And this could be just a translation error. It is a fan translation after all, so not everything here is 100% accurate, but it is a theory that I'd be willing to hear out. It would add a lot of depth to Kenny's character, who only in his dying moments told Levi of his connection to him. If Kenny was Levi's dad and not his uncle, it could explain why he walked out of his life as we saw in Season 3. Maybe he didn't want Levi to go down the same path as him. Being a father, maybe he wanted better for Levi and knew that under his care he wouldn't be able to make that happen, so he had to let him go. Was Kenny too afraid to admit that he was actually Levi's dad, even in his final moments? Was Olympia actually Kenny's sister? And who actually was Levi's dad? There's a ton of questions that could be sparked, but once again, it is a fan translation, so maybe I'm picking at something that isn't there. But it would definitely be an interesting twist if Kenny was actually Levi's dad and not his uncle. Let me know what you think about that theory in the comments. The next part of the conversation is pretty weird, with the gang leader saying that now that Levi has killed his attackers, he must stop what he's doing with Kenny, as the path he is headed down will only lead to his end. Levi, who seems to have cooled down after his awakening, is going along with the leader's words. That is, until the gang leader starts to lose it. He breaks down and claims that he's the only one who can save Levi from his life in the underground, to which Levi responds by stating that nobody would believe that a kid like him killed all of those men, and he proceeds to chuck the gang leader off the side of the cliff. This panel is pretty badass, and it depicts Kenny's cold-blooded influence on Levi, which we have seen countless times throughout the anime. This panel reminds me of the time when Levi was in the forest with Zeke. Zeke planted his spinal fluid into the wine that the scouts drank and caused all of Levi's team to transform into Titans. Anyone would break in this moment. Imagine having the enemy in the palm of your hand when suddenly all of your comrades transform into man-eating Titans in front of your eyes. You'd be devastated and probably unable to think in that moment. Heck, even Zeke thought that he had taken care of Levi by breaking him down psychologically and having his own men devour him. But Levi bounces back immediately. Without hesitating, he quickly drops the Titans and chases after Zeke, taking him down once again. If it wasn't for Kenny's influence, this level of critical thinking and casting aside of emotions may not have registered for Levi. If it was someone like Armin or Hanji in that moment, they for sure would have hesitated at the thought of having to kill their own troops, but Levi didn't, and it hardly even fazed him. Finally, Levi returns home with his mother's prized possession, which is the same tea set that they were drinking from in the first page of the chapter. We then see Levi brew himself a cup of tea, and as he's about to take his first sip, the handle breaks. The manga cuts to present day Levi sitting at a picnic table with Falco and the Sasha killer, explaining why he holds his cup the way he does. It's one of Levi's quirky habits that fans were quick to pick up on when the anime was airing. In the anime, Levi is shown to stay behind Marley after stopping the rumbling. He sits in a wheelchair, effectively ending his time on the front lines, while the rest of the scouts return to Paradis. So it's not weird to see him telling the story to Falco and Gabi instead of Mikasa and the others who we are more accustomed to seeing. And that is where Attack on Titan's final chapter ends, leaving Eren's story untouched and expanding on the past of a fan favorite of the series. To sum up my final thoughts, I'll say that it was awesome to see more AOT content, although it would have been cool to see a page or two showing what Mikasa and Armin were up to. I remember how empty I felt watching the series finale back in November, just sitting at my desk, speechless, trying to process what I just watched. So to see a new chapter makes me really happy. The world building in Attack on Titan is phenomenal, and although the series did end 3 years ago, I'd love to see more stories from within the walls. Potential spin-offs, coverage of the Great Titan War, there's a list of stories that are yet to be told, and I do hope that Hajime Isayama decides to pick up his pen once again. Whether that's with more stories from the world of AOT or an entirely new series in general. I think Isayama is an absolute genius, and in my opinion he's written the greatest story of all time. It would be a true privilege to read more of his work in the future. And that's the end of my first ever video on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. It would be a massive help. And let me know what you guys think about my Kenny is actually Levi's dad theory and your thoughts on the final chapter overall. Also, last thing before I sign off, I just wanted to quickly plug my Instagram and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. I post daily anime news over there, and you can keep up with what I'm up to behind the scenes, so links to my socials will be in the description. Alright, that's all I have for now. I'll see you all on the next one.